This is Build Fight Game.
Ah! No, no! Oh my god.
You can think of it kind of like Minecraft crossed with TF2.
What?
It's a team-based FPS game set in a fully destructible voxel-based environment. But that's enough of the elevator pitch. How did we get here? So the story starts in July 2023, where I was fed up of having dedicated so much of my life to game development without actually managing to release anything. So I decided I was going to come up with a plan to create a full, small-scope game that I could feasibly create during my college summer break. Mostly I wanted to avoid the things that had prevented all my previous projects from coming to fruition, mostly scope creep. All my previous games had started as these simple ideas that ballooned way out of shape and would inevitably never be released. So for this new game, I knew I had to have a proper plan of action that I could work through to develop the game, and know that even if I was behind schedule, I was always making progress to a central goal.
Hang on a second. You're telling me it took you like 10 years to figure out that having a plan is good?
And, well, yeah, you kind of have a point there, ambiguous other character. It does seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how easy it is to steer away from those ideas that you have in your head and to just add one little thing here and there and say, you know, wouldn't this feature be cool? And suddenly you're 3 years into a project, realise none of this is working, your codebase is a mess, you'll never release this game, you'll never succeed in this hellish industry, and you should probably just give up and die. July 2023. I was working on a completely different project at this point, and I could kind of feel that it was beyond the scope of what I was realistically capable of doing on my own in any reasonable time span. So instead of pushing this feeling into the back of my mind until I exploded, I decided to put the project on hold and instead come up with something more reasonable. Yes, that's right, I made a good, mature decision. I guess my brain short-circuited or something. So, what was the plan I came up with? So to start with, I wanted to take inspiration from what I know. The thing with me is I'm kind of a selfish game developer in that I will make games that I think I will enjoy. So in this instance, I looked at this little game called Team Fortress 2 that I may have played once or twice. I wanted to essentially take a hero shooter like TF2, though scale back a little bit since I'm just one guy, and then
let me add a little bit of spice.
Which I did by deciding to have the game take place in this Minecraft-style voxel world. It's a bit like Ace of Spades, so the game that I had in mind had a general faster pace with smaller teams and a heavier focus on individual class roles. I decided to call it Build Fight Game just as a working title. I mean, I'm sure I'll get around to changing that later. But nonetheless, with the general idea of the game in my head, I started to work on a plan of exactly what I wanted from it, which was the foundation that I was going to work off of. And it goes something like this. 3 classes, 1 focused on building, 1 on explosives, and 1 on digging. Rounds were to take place in some kind of enclosed voxel world, which would be separated by a big barrier straight down the centre while teams prepare their defences. And then after some time, the barrier lifts and the battle begins. The whole aim of the game is to steal gold, which is dropped when players die, and then take it back to your team's vault, where it can be deposited. Also, because I'm a conniving menace that loves ruining everyone's fun, players can also steal gold from enemy vaults if they're careful enough to sneak behind enemy lines and get to it. Finally, after the battle phase ends, the team with the most gold in their vault is declared the winner.
I think we did okay.
We did alright, guys.
So, idea decided on, plan in place, I had to actually make the game. I started with creating the voxel world system. Luckily, I'm autistic, meaning I have an in-depth knowledge of the technical machinations of Minecraft and how it generates and renders all of its voxel chunks. So after brushing up on the principles of mesh generation, batching, voxel occlusion, basically a bunch of nerd shit, I had a semi-functional voxel engine. Look at this completely uninteresting cube. It only took me a couple weeks. I mean, I did have to figure out how to handle the materials and texturing and make it work in Unity, and obviously I had to squash a whole load of bugs before it could work. But at last I can start working on the gameplay. Let me just slap some basic worlding on this and... My god, this shit is slow! Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's not like summer is that short anyway. Oh, okay, I'm going away with my family, so no work. That's okay, it's only a week. Oh, sorry, nope. 10 days. I just have to implement proper threading and object pulling and placing blocks and destroying blocks. Did I mention I was also handling all of this over the network while I was doing this? Because in case you forgot, this is a multiplayer game as well. Ha 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 ha! But it's working. Voxel engine, terrain scales as much as I need it to. Fast enough world generation, I mean, it'll have to do. Now I can start implementing the gameplay, and I've still got no time. So it turns out creating an entire voxel engine in Unity is not easy, even though there are some insane YouTube videos by people much smarter than me that make it look like it is. And I mean, this summer project is doomed to fail, right? I'm out of time. I might as well assign it to the trash heap like everything else. F that. I mean, I already have a plan in place for the game. There's a difference between scope creep and just overestimating my capabilities. Just because I'm a little behind schedule doesn't mean I have to abandon it completely. I can come back from this as long as I stick to that plan. As Shigeru Miyamoto once said, quote somebody else, you f***ing head. So after a little ponderation, I opened up the project again and got to work. And over time, I'm happy to say, I have stuck to that plan. I mean, literally all the macro level tasks on my Trello board are the same. Some of these I have literally added on the first day of development, and they're still there. I've just been populating it with more little tasks, and over the course of a few months, I've finally managed to develop the game's first fully playable class.
This is Recon. He's that tunnel digging class I was talking about earlier. Recon's whole deal is essentially movement and sneaking, equipped with a high-powered shotgun and a rapid tunnel digging shovel. They can be a super valuable member of any team by digging tunnels between strategic locations, for instance your spawn in the enemy vault. Recons also have access to fake dirt, which looks the exact same as regular dirt until you get close when it fades away and reveals itself to be a facade. This is pretty perfect for concealing tunnel entrances you might not want the enemies to know about. And that's not to say they're completely useless in combat situations either. A Recon shotgun does very powerful damage at close range, which means that even though they have low HP, you can still do quite well in 1v1 situations by leveraging your movement and positioning.
And from there it was time for me to actually play the game. But this time I was actually playing it with other people. You know, friends. I do sometimes have those. And if you'll allow me to become a real person again for a second, do you know what the best part of this is? It's actually fun. I mean, I'm serious. I played the game with my friends, and although it was to some extent a buggy mess that at one point opened a black hole in the ocean that started literally eating up all my RAM until the game crashed.
It's the vault. It's a big box.
Wait, are you still able to play?
I'm still here.
How? It was fun. And that reminded me why I do this. You see figures like Notch, or Scott Cawthon, who make these huge indie hits that made them rich. And people outside game development tend to focus on these riches. That stardom, almost. But that's not why I chose to make games. It never has been. That kind of success, it looks great on paper, but you know what? I don't really care. Because nothing beats this. Making something, having other people play your thing, and they actually enjoy that. That is what game development is about, and to be honest, that's always been my goal with making games. I just want to make stuff that other people can play and be like, huh, neat. And to be honest, this is something that's always been there. If you look at even at my earliest game development projects, before now, I think the best game I've ever made was this game called Broken Home, which I originally made in 2 days for a competition that I'd had several months to do and had left until the last minute. I didn't get anywhere with it because I made it in 2 days. But the main thing with that project is when I was done with it, I put it out onto the internet, but my friends played it, and they played it a bit more, and for a brief moment, maybe a couple weeks, they were trying new things and experimenting, and that is the moment where I knew 100% for certain this is what my life is supposed to be. And ever since then, I've just been chasing that high. I mean, with that game, I worked on it for several more years, trying to create a polished version that I could release, and never went anywhere because I just wasn't able to capture that same joy that I had from that original project. And that is why I fought so hard for this game to be real. It's why I kept reevaluating my viewpoint to make sure I could get it done. And I do genuinely think that I'm finally there again. And that's why I made this video, because I want to share that with you. And in the least YouTube way possible. If you do think this is nice, you know, if you did enjoy the video, then it would be great if you could wish this game on Steam and join my Discord to be involved in the community. Thanks for watching.